Welcome to the International Teacher Podcast with your host, Kent the Cat Guy, Jacqueline from JP Mint Consulting, Darian the Family Guy, and Greg the Single Guy, bringing you episodes from around the world about the best-kept secret in teaching. You got it, international education. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of the International Teacher Podcast. This is your host, Greg the Single Guy, and my co-host, of course, is now way far away in the U.S., Kent the Cat Guy. How are you, Kent?
I'm great, Single Guy. Thanks for having me. Happy to be back from our summer break.
Yeah,
of course,
you're in
I'm on
Seattle
a permanent
now.
break at the moment, but...
We gotta talk about that later,
Semi-retirement, let's
right?
hear it!
We've got Jacqueline, JP Mint. You are in Mexico now.
I am indeed. I'm back from spring in Canada, and now I'm in the rainy season in Mexico.
It's great to have you guys back on the show and have myself back on the show fresh off vacation. We are still recording for our audience during the summertime. We have a great guest with us, you guys. It's Nandini, and she's coming to us from India, just north of Mumbai. Welcome to the show, Nandini.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. I have been listening to your podcast for the last 1 year, and I've just loved listening to all the journeys of the different international educators. And I was like, I want to share my journey too. So here I am. Thank you for having me.
So we have one listener, Kent. There's one listener
right,
in Australia and one in India.
Nandini, we're very excited to hear about your journey today. Thank you for joining us.
Nandini, can you tell us, are you an international teacher right now in India? Are you at one of the international schools there?
So I have been teaching abroad for the last 7 years, but I was an international teacher in Mumbai for 6 years before. So actually, I got my master's degree from the US in English literature. And then I came back to India believing that I'll have the traditional arranged marriage that many Indian people used to do at that time, at least. Now things have changed quite a bit. But life had different plans for me. So I ended up actually getting into journalism. And I was a journalist for a few years. Then I also moved on to become a curriculum designer for an ed tech company. Around 2012 is when I got into international teaching in a school in Mumbai. And I was there for 6 years. After 6 years, around 2018 is when I got my first break into international teaching. Russia for 2 years. Then I was in Bulgaria for 2 years. And then I was in Japan for 3 years. And I am now going to move on to my next job, which is going to be in Italy.
Ooh. So is that in the fall? You'll be a couple weeks, you'll be moving on to Italy?
Yeah, in sometime in August. The paperwork is still going on, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that everything will work out.
Nandini, let's just take a step back to your childhood. You went to college in the United States. What about before that? High school? Where did you grow up?
In India. And so I'm actually from a very small town in India. I went to college and did my bachelor's degree in English literature from a university in India. And then I went on to the US to do my master's degree in English literature, all because I was just very interested in English literature.
So you keep mentioning India, but we all know India is huge. So if you could give the names, that would be great if you don't mind sharing, because
Sure,
a lot
of
of our
course.
listeners might be in India and wondering.
Okay, sure. So I am from a state called Gujarat, which is to the north of Mumbai. And I'm from a very small town called Bharuch, which probably people have never heard of. But people probably heard of the crash that happened recently, unfortunately, the plane crash. And that was in Ahmedabad, which is just a few hours away from where I am.
And where did you go to college, and how did you choose that college over others in the U.S.?
in the US. So I went to Indiana University in Indianapolis, and I got a fellowship there. So all my tuition was covered, and I also was getting a stipend. So it was a no-brainer for me to actually take that up. But I also had my brother in Michigan who was working there. So I also wanted to be close to family. So that was the perfect place to be for me.
That's amazing. That because I was immediately thinking, wow, U.S. Masters, that's going to be a pricey ticket, but fantastic. You got yourself a fellowship and also that little stipend to help you carry across. Did you do some teaching or some TAing while you were there?
Yeah. Yeah, I worked for the medical school in Indianapolis, and I was in the public relations department there. So I wrote copy, like news pieces, and then articles for their magazine. I also wrote for a show called Sound Medicines. I did the research, I mean, for the Sound Medicine show that they had at that time. So I got some experience with writing and researching in that, and it paid me also, but I was actually getting that stipend without doing anything, so it was just an amazing deal I got.
Before we move into your international, I mean, this is international. Can you tell us a little bit about your first impressions of the US and what were some of the learning curves, like some of the culture shocks that you had when you went to school?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I was young at that time. I was 20 years old, and now I'm in my 40s. So uh I just loved the experience. It was so different from anything I had done in India. First, I remember the first day I went to school in the US, and there was a huge round table around which everyone was sitting and they were discussing literature. And the way I had studied literature in India was listening to the teacher, the lecturer talk and taking down notes and using that in the exam. And here I was suddenly expected and very happy that I got that experience, but I was discussing literature. I had no voice at that time. I had no guts to speak up. So that was my biggest culture shock. I was expected to read a book every week and go and discuss it, which was also something really shocking for me. And then there were no exams. There were just papers to take home and write and research and bring back, which was all very new for me. So I think I really like the idea that I have experience in both the countries, because I do see value in what I learned in India, because, the lecturer giving you information, helping you guide your thinking a little bit helped me, I feel. But at the same time, then there was complete freedom in being able to think how I wanted to, was an amazing experience as well. So yeah.
Nandini, was it unusual? Like you said, you come from small town India. Was your experience of heading off to the States and then eventually traveling over the world, do you think that's pretty uncommon for someone from a small town like yours? Or is it more and more that, even small town India is spreading their wings throughout the world? Where do you fit in that?
Well, I'll say that Indians are everywhere now. In terms of international teaching, I think we are just stepping out. We're definitely going places. I think I'll say that as an English literature teacher, I might still be a minority. I think there is that stereotype that an Indian teacher will usually be a math or science teacher.
Yeah.
That might be true to an extent. So there are more of those out there. It might be because there are those teachers, but also because of the perception of the hiring committees that they feel that those are the right teachers to have. So it might work both ways, right? But I definitely feel that there are more of us out there, but it's still a growing community.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
In my school in Japan recently, there were about 4 Indian teachers in the same school. It's not a big school, so like maybe out of 70 teachers, about 3 or 4 Indian teachers was a pretty big deal. But in my school in Russia and Bulgaria, there was absolutely no other Indian, so definitely was a minority there.
And how did you tackle that? How did you fit in? How did you try to fit in? Did you
Make friends,
make
right?
friends with more of the locals? Did you get in there with the Americans because you lived in the States for a while?
Yeah, I won't say I found it terribly difficult to make friends. At the same time, I do feel that, there are things that I cannot mingle about very easily because, for example, sports, I don't know about American football. I'm not into soccer. So those kinds of things I would not be able to easily mingle with the others. But then I did make friends who wanted to play board games, which was something I was into. So in Russia, I made a group of friends with whom we would play board games very often. I would actually call people over and we would make samosas together. We had the food community being created, which is, I think, a very important way to make friends, I think, when you are an international teacher.
Nandini, I have one good question for you then. Since you spent time in the Midwest, in the U.S., a very important sports question that we can just mention here. Have you ever heard of these guys right here? This big G on my hat. Have you ever heard of the Green Bay Packers? Oh, my Lord. How long were you in Indiana? How long were you there? I mean, this is great. I'll take my hat off then. Wow. It's not a cricket team. We don't understand cricket in the
Now
U.S.
ask me about cricket and I can help you.
I know it takes 3 days to play a game sometimes, but all joshing aside, I'd like to get into a little bit about your overseas schools, your other schools where you broke out of India. You didn't go to the States and teach, although you have experience in the States. But tell us about your first school that was it Bulgaria or was it Russia?
Russia.
Russia, okay. Can you tell us about your Russian experience, how you got into it, found out about it? You're saying a lot of Indian teachers are breaking out of India to go international. So tell us a little bit about your journey.
Sure, absolutely. When I was teaching in Mumbai for 6 years, I saw the other expat teachers at my school living the dream, basically, having better salaries, better benefits than us local teachers, going traveling every weekend, soaking in the culture of the region, all of that. And I was like, I want in, right? I want this life. I started applying directly to schools around 2015. And I got no responses at all. And my academic director of the school was an American, took me under her wings kind of a thing, and mentored me into understanding what kinds of qualifications I needed. So at that point, I got my teaching license from the US. I actually went through a few exams and all of that, like the praxis exams and all. And then I got a US teaching license. I applied again after that, and I applied to a school in Europe. And there was a former principal who was working there. So, connections work very well in international teaching. So I was like, maybe this will work out. But the response I got was Indian passport holders are not considered for a job in Europe. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be here. And that's all right. I liked my school in Mumbai. But then in June 2018, I'd come back from my school session to my home in the small town that I live in. And I got an email from my academic director who had moved on to Russia. And the mentor that I had. And she wrote to me asking, there's an English vacancy and would you be interested? And I believe in taking opportunities when I get them. I took it up. I took up the job. So in June, I got my the job offer, and I was on a plane to Russia in August. It was a lot happening in those 2 months.
Nandini, what did your family, mom, dad, grandparents, brothers, what was their opinion of all this?
Yeah, firstly, it was like, it's Russia. Are you sure?
It's cold.
And then my parents live with me here in this small town, so I'm with them. But my parents got onto a call with my brother who lives in the US. And on the conference call, they were all like, you need to really consider this. There are 3 things you really need to think about. What about the food? Because I'm a vegetarian. So what about the food there?
Yep.
what are you going to do about the weather? It's going to be cold and you live in India, so you're not prepared for that. And then the third factor was language. So, you're not going to have any social life at all in Russia. So are you going to be okay with all of this? And at this point, I think I was super excited about the prospect of being abroad and getting this opportunity that I was like, I'm going to figure it out. Let me just do this. And it's for 2 years. I can always come back. And
so did all three of them. All three of them were there, right? They had vegetables. They had English at your school, at least.
Or maybe you should learn some Russian.
Right? Or maybe you learned Russian for outside of school, how to show.
Exactly.
And the weather, you probably brought a couple extra sweaters.
Exactly. It's all about the clothes you wear, right? When it's about the weather. And there's always Google Translate.
The Russians always say, and I love as a Canadian, we always take that expression as well. If you feel the cold, you're dressed wrong. So, just put on some more layers, put on a hat, put on a scarf.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I still have my Russian coat after all these years, 7 years. It's so good.
Well, and it was hardly used, right? Two winters. Did you stay there 2 years then, Nandini?
Yes, exactly. I was there for 2 years. I was very clear that I want to milk this opportunity of traveling different countries and having all these adventures. So I was determined to, explore as much as possible and not settle into one place.
So you did some traveling while you were in Russia. You were able to go to some of the neighboring countries?
From Russia, I didn't go to any neighboring countries. I just traveled in Russia. So I went to Moscow and to St. Petersburg, to Sochi. Those were amazing places. Actually, Russia is absolutely brilliant. The architecture is fantastic. I was in Kazan, which is a smaller city, about 800 kilometers from Moscow to the east. And the Volga River flows through it. So it's beautiful. Okay. Nice. I just loved it.
That's heading towards Siberia, though, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm like,
look at JP
kilometers east of Moscow. That's a little. That sounds a little close to Siberia, but yeah, you were met by the principal that you were working with, or the director, and she probably took you under her wing again and made some introductions. And did you have other expats also working at the school? Were they from all over the world, or specifically just American or Canadian?
Right. So the academic director who I'd worked with actually had moved on that year. So I did not have her there. So I had to make my own way over there. I met my own friends and introductions and all. There were mostly Canadian, American, British. Yeah, those teachers, I think. Probably one from Philippines, but mostly just these bigger countries. Yeah. More represented countries. Yeah.
And when you found this opportunity in Bulgaria next, how did you find that? Did you start to learn that there was recruiters, or did you still do it with a connection?
Yes, that's when my struggles began. So my first journey was very easy and smooth because of the recommendation. But when I decided to move on from Russia, that was in November, and I did not get my job in Bulgaria until March. And those 5 months were excruciating, not knowing where I was going to land up, all of that. Applied through search, and I sent out about 110 applications, and with a cover letter tailored to every school, of course. And out of those 110 applications, I got about 5 interviews and 1 job offer, which was the one in Bulgaria. So that's where my struggles really began.
Nandini, were part of those struggles you mentioned earlier that Europe didn't look seriously at people with an Indian passport? Was that still sort of one of the obstacles for applying for jobs?
Absolutely. So one of the things that made me unable to apply to certain places was because in the job adverts, it would be written very clearly that they were looking for native English speakers. And I find that a little problematic because there are two things. If it's an IB school, which is where I've mostly taught, I've taught in IB schools. And if they put non-native speaker next to that, native speakers only next to that, that really sounds like an oxymoron to me, because an IB school is supposed to embody the ideas of inclusivity and multiple voices. But the other issue I have with that is it becomes a general label, and that excludes people like me, I feel, who have studied in English all their lives. They're from formerly colonized countries. So they have that background with English. And at the same time, they've done their masters in English literature, let's say, from the US. And they use English as their main language, maybe. So after all of that, excluded from certain prospects makes it really problematic. I did face that issue quite a bit. And I think I've faced that every time I've applied. From 110 applications after Bulgaria, I was able to go down to 40 applications the next time, and then about 50 to 60 applications in Japan when I got my Italy job. So I will say things are improving for sure. But then, I've had incidents which have taken things back to like a few years again. So like there is, you regress to a few years back again after making all this progress. Yeah, those have been definitely a difficulty.
Yeah, and not to mention the fact that you are modeling what many of these students are going to be experiencing.
Yeah.
They are likely local students, English is not their native tongue, and you're modeling for them what they could have as a future. So
Absolutely.
for me, it's an absolute no-brainer to hire the entire globe. If you have an international school, you want everyone represented to model to the students that this is their possibility as well.
Absolutely. And then it doesn't stop with the job adverts. I've experienced this even after I got the job. So in Russia, after I got there in August, in September, my principal came into my classroom telling me, no pressure, but you're being watched, because the parents at the open house have raised the concern that a brown woman is teaching Shakespeare to their children. So I was quite taken aback at that time, because I'd never faced that before. But when I look back and think about it, I feel that I understand the parents' perspective to an extent. I think they are putting their kids in a school after spending a lot of money, right? So they definitely deserve to get what they want. And often school leaders have to, have the staff that the parents want. So I understand that part. But I feel that some of the issues are because parents believe that they want a native English speaker so that they can have the magical British accent or the American accent for their children. And I think that one of the issues is this parent perception that school students, the future prospects of their children depends on the accent that they acquire from the teacher. So I think that's really problematic. And even with teaching English literature, I feel that maybe there needs to be more awareness about what the IB English language and literature course is like. It's not about teaching grammar and pronunciation like it happens in a language school. It is about going much deeper. Yes, they will learn those skills in the immersive environment, but there's just going to be so much more depth to what they learn in English in the IB. So yeah, those are some of the things that I wish would improve. They have improved, but every now and then I have experiences where I feel that we've gone back a few years.
It sounds like you're doing a real uphill battle, but the more that you experience it, I think it's going to make you even stronger, because that perception of parents wanting that American accent or that white teacher to teach English, whereas that's not going to go away. And I strongly feel that, and I agree with you. That's a perception that parents have. And until they meet you, when they find out on paper that you're Indian, that you're from India, you're not from Indiana, right? They're like, oh, she went to Indiana. No, you're India. When they find that out, I think it's on paper, it's really difficult for them to get past that. And once they meet you and you start quoting Robert Frost and you start explaining, hey, IB is not just a bunch of Americans sitting around or British sitting around colonizing. We actually want to have that flavor of international throughout the language experience. And here they have this wonderful opportunity to have a woman and to have a woman from India that speaks and knows more about the English language than most of us do as far as literature and everything, just because you don't have the accent. I think it's wonderful that you're going through this because it's going to make you stronger. And I don't mean it's a great experience. I mean it's a difficult experience you're going through. And now you've been to 3 different countries besides your own teaching. And now you're going on to Italy, and those Italians, man, they're going to give you the runaround too, but you're ready for it. And I think your message is great for the new teachers out there coming up through the ranks that are of different color and different language backgrounds, is that no matter how strong your skills are as a teacher, and especially in language, in English, there's a perception of parents sending their kids to a school to learn from some white person, or
Blonde, blue-eyed.
Yep. And language, first language being English.
Right.
That's a perception and a hurdle you're going to have to get over as a new teacher in that category. And I love it what you're talking about, because you've gone through a lot. Yes. And you still have a long way to go. But I think it's just going to keep getting easier for you rather than more difficult.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. So I'll definitely say I'm very grateful to the school leaders who have considered the merit in my applications, have seen my experience and qualifications, and have hired me. I have been able to get through about 4 different countries. That definitely shows that things are changing for sure.
Well, wait till they meet you on the show here, and they're like, "Oh, we need her." We have school leaders listening to this show a lot and watching us, and they can see you on the video here. I think it's great. We're going to open up some doors, hopefully, and it's going to continue to build, and it's going to open other ways for other teachers that you're doing this. You are the trailblazer. You're one of the ones that's bringing this up on the show. We're opening our eyes to the difficulties of being a non-native English speaker. Right?
Yeah,
non-native English speaker, and you've mentioned it too, a person of color, right?
Right.
So that's also, you are clashing with some of the expectations of what a teacher is going to look like, what a teacher is going to sound like. In these international schools, you've pointed out very well that parents are paying a lot of money to send their students, to send their children to these schools. But you embrace that idea of the IB is a program of inclusivity. Now,
all right, let's take a moment for a little commercial about how to get in touch with us. You can, of course, find all 4 of us at the itpexpat.com. That's www.itpexpat.com.
Or you could also find us at email at internationalteacherpodcast@gmail.com. We look forward to hearing from you.
Or if you're into Facebook, we have a new Facebook group at www.facebook.com/groups/ITPexpat, where you can find all kinds of inside information about ITP Expat.
You can also find us on Instagram at ITP Expats. That's with an S. ITP Expats is our handle.
All right, and thank you, listeners. We have over 100 countries represented by our listeners, and though we're not monetized, we are here for you, and we would like to thank all of you for listening. So let's get back to the show.
when you got your offer, you said you went from 110 applications to about 4 or 5 interviews to one offer from Bulgaria. Was that in Sofia? Was that the capital, or was that somewhere outside?
Yes, it was in Sofia, and it was one of my best experiences. I love.
Tell us about Sofia. Tell us about it.
Such a wonderful city. I think it's the most underrated country I feel I've been to. Absolutely gorgeous in terms of the nature. It has fantastic architecture as well. Cost of living is low. I think it's a great destination for an international teacher. It's located in a place from where you can travel all over Europe, and which is what I did. I actually,
Nice.
I was there for the COVID years actually,
Oh,
and I drove to Romania and then to Serbia and Montenegro, Croatia, and also did a trip through Hungary and Czechia and Slovakia. So I just loved it, and also to North Macedonia. So I traveled a lot
wow.
during that time because there was nothing to do there. As in because of COVID, like you couldn't really meet people, and I figured out that I could drive around still if I had my vaccine certificate. So that's what I did. I just went solo all over these places.
Wow.
Wow.
Now, when I was living in Istanbul, we often drove into Greece and also Sofia, Bulgaria, because they were kind of equally close. I remember a road trip that I took from Istanbul. I wanted to get to Brasov, Romania. And on paper, it said it was going to be about maybe 7 hours because it was about 700 or 800 kilometers. But the reality of the roads through Bulgaria and
Yes.
then through Romania turned out to be, it was like a 17-hour trip. So I did make it, but it was like, and I kept stopping in Bulgaria, and they have the Cyrillic alphabet. So I was like
Yes.
memorizing, backwards E and the tent. And I was like looking for these things from my map. And I figured out quite quickly the Bulgarian people, for the most part, don't speak English.
Yes.
So I would show them on the map, this is where we are. How do I get to the next town? Because I was showing them the Romania part, and they were like, I don't know how to get to Romania. But I figured out if I could just say, how do I get to the next town? Because there were so many roads. They'd be like, go this way. Okay. But the people were very friendly. I will say this. I was expecting some kind of like Cold War sort of, that stoic frigidness. But in fact, once you were showing that you were willing to not bombard them with English and just through hand gestures and, simple salutations in Bulgarian and showing a map, they were like, okay, yes, I can help you.
Right, right. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think the people are very warm. I felt the same way about Russia, actually. They are supposed to be more cold, but I didn't feel that way at all. I had a great time there as well, and in Bulgaria. What did you think of Bulgaria, the landscape? I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, I just remember every town, there was a donkey tied up outside of town. And it was almost like that was the greeting. Like right next to the sign, there was a donkey. And it was like, I made it to a new town because there's a new donkey.
The ITP brought to you by Donkeys of Bulgaria.
Donkeys of Bulgaria. And I was taking photos of every donkey because I was like drawn to it. I was like, this is a different looking donkey.
You need
But
to come
yeah,
to
I
India.
do.
You will find donkeys on the road here.
There you go. Yeah, I'm kind of glad they were tied up because I'm driving thinking, please don't come in front of
Oh
my
my God.
car.
Well, the ITP listeners have learned something new about JP now. I did not know you have a fascination with donkeys, and that's great. It's a healthy fascination, I would imagine. Do they have donkeys in Seattle?
Not yet. I've not seen a donkey here in Seattle. I'll keep my
All
eyes
right,
open.
I see lots of
This is
Camels
not
around
Green
me
Bay,
here,
buddy.
but-
We
No, it's
don't
not
have
Green Bay either.
livestock just wandering around.
No, we have alpacas up there.
Nandini, what was your takeaway from the time that you spent in Bulgaria, other than the travels nearby?
Mhm.
As far as like, were your students international? Were they locals mostly?
Yeah, they were mostly locals, and this was a school that had an entrance exam for students to come in. So they had only the cream of Bulgaria coming to the school. It was an interesting experience. The students were very eager to do well and actually move out of Bulgaria, which is sad, but that was how it was. I was there during the COVID years, so I feel that I wasn't able to enjoy myself in terms of having social connections too much.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it was, I feel like it was a time when I felt slightly isolated.
Mm.
And so then when I went to Japan, I made it a point to find friends outside school quite a bit. So I did a very good job there. But in Bulgaria, I do feel that it was a little isolating outside school time. But I
It
was
was
also
you in the car.
sorry.
You in the car, right?
It was me in the
And the
car
donkey.
driving everywhere.
No, I just was going to ask about that transition from Bulgaria to Japan. So now we're talking about post COVID Japan, because during COVID Japan was pretty much locked down.
Yes.
And so I didn't mean to rush you through Bulgaria, but what made you decide that you wanted to make a move? And you think that, and the move sounded like it started getting easier as a more experienced teacher. What was that like, making that transition?
Yeah. The reason I moved again was because I wanted more adventure. I had literally done everything I could have done in Bulgaria in terms of traveling. Had a good time teaching there. I was also the head of the English department there, so I
Okay.
felt like
Nice.
I was able to put in some of the curriculum framework that I wanted to do. So I got a lot of really good experience there as well.
Yeah.
But I'm someone who does not like to get comfortable anywhere. So I've always, like, this is also from the time I was a journalist and all, I have always moved very quickly. So I just don't settle. And that's a problem that my parents have with me. But
As they do with all of us, right?
Except for Kent.
No, my
Kent's in
parents
Seattle.
begged me to leave.
So you went
and
to
so,
Japan.
yeah,
Did you go
I
through
actually had a
search
very
again?
good gig going there. So sometimes I did wonder, why did I leave? But I think it was mostly because I wanted more adventure and I felt like I'd done what I could do there.
Yeah.
So you told us 50 or 40 applications. How many interviews, how many offers in this time?
Sure. At this time, it was about 40 applications, about 10 interviews, and one offer again. So I have
Okay.
never actually been able to make a choice. I always have just one offer, and it's the time when you feel like, if I don't take this, I'm not going to get anything else. Like, it's January or so, getting to the high season. So I'm
Well,
like,
at least you're not up late at night just trying to choose between several offers. It makes it easy.
that's true, to take it
Where-
positively.
Where in Japan did you head off to then?
So I was in Nagoya, which is between Osaka and Tokyo. It's actually the most boring city of Japan.
You know what?
Apparently.
That's exactly what they said. My buddy was in Nagoya at exactly the same time. Are there several international schools there, or the one big one?
Too many, a couple actually.
All right. Well, when we're off the air, I'll check in with you, because I'm sure you guys cross paths. Yeah, you know what? They should make up T-shirts. Most boringest city, because that's exactly what he said.
Wow.
Actually really liked it again. I was able to do the best I have ever done in terms of making connections outside school, having a work-life balance, which I had never been able to do because I'm a workaholic and I've been told that I have to prove myself as a brown woman. So I would work really hard.
Yeah.
But then here I was able to have that work-life balance. I joined a local theater group, and
I love that.
I actually performed for in Romeo and Juliet, and this was a group that had Japanese people, local people in it, and then other expats. Nothing to do with school, and I absolutely loved this experience. So that's like high on my list. Wherever I go, I'm going to find drama groups.
So you had spent years studying the Western canon in drama, and then you just took the leap and got on that stage. I love that.
And I cannot act for the life of me, but I was like, I understand
Nandini,
Romeo and Juliet. I know every single line. I can do this.
She was the
okay,
line Nandini.
I
Okay,
think
here's your line.
You bring up a great point, Nandini, and I think that after we get through that working part of getting comfortable in a school, like we're working our butts off when we first go to overseas schools, we're worried about the next job, we're worried about doing a great job, and that work-life balance doesn't always hit right away. But when you find that magical outside of school, like for me it was jazz band, for you it was drama. It took me 20 years before I found a jazz band to play in outside of school or part of school. It just never had the opportunity. The other schools I worked at, there was 6 different schools. I just didn't have the opportunity to play in a band. And then I got to this school and they're like, wow, I mean, it opened up my life. I was changed completely.
True.
And I think that once you find, as an international teacher, once you find that, I don't know, whatever that is that makes you happy, that happy place, then you start to go and filter into the surrounding area and become like you get to blossom a little bit more, especially finding local or expats that are doing the same thing you are.
Exactly. Absolutely.
So drama did that for you. It was so something to look forward to. It's your balance that you found, right? I mean,
Absolutely.
for Kent, it was tennis and pickleball, I think,
And flute lessons.
and flute lessons.
Oh,
Right?
I got
Me,
a
it
bunch
was
of stuff going
choir.
on. I have
I
a
had-
list.
I had 6 years in an expat and local choir, so that outside of school, you need to find those things that help you settle, as you say, not just work-life balance, but they help you settle in a little bit because you find satisfaction outside of your job as well.
Absolutely. And one thing this school did really well was that one of the bits about in the benefits basket was that it would give you 150,000 yen for doing something beyond school. So it could be learning Japanese. It could be
So that's about
uh,
1,000,
do
1,500 USD.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, like for the whole year, but it was amazing because I also did ukulele lessons
Hey.
from a Japanese teacher who did not speak any English, and I don't speak any Japanese, so I don't know how I learned anything, but I did a little bit. But it was such an amazing
Music is
experience.
the international language.
There you
right?
go.
Music and math
Exactly.
and love.
Nandini, you're the perfect person for me to ask, and I don't want to take us too far off course, but you've worked in the Indian system, the American system, the Japanese system, the Russian system. What's your views on sort of testing? I know that in India, it's very, there's a lot of tests.
Yes.
And you've got to be top of the class, on those tests. Reflecting back on theories and practice of education, what do you see as the ideal sort of education system if you could mix and match?
Sure. I do feel that there is some merit in testing. I do feel that there need to be some standards. I know there is a lot of backlash against standardized tests and all, but I do feel that there needs to be some of that. At the same time, there needs to be that flexibility. A midpoint somewhere is what I feel would be a good idea. I do like what we have in the IB system, where in the 12th grade, there are those external exams which allow the student to know where they stand internationally, or how they have been performing internationally. But also the fact that throughout the career in the school, they are not constantly taking tests. So I like that balance there.
This feels like an interview or something. And do you have any animals you'll be bringing with you? And I mean, Kent threw a really tough one at you. Like, what's your theory of educational testing? And bless you. That was a great answer. I'm glad. Kent, no more bad ones for Kent.
Nandini, we're speaking to a Japanese American right here. Kent is
Not me.
of Japanese American.
Yeah, my
descent.
father's, both his parents are Japanese.
And I myself absolutely loved my few trips that I've taken to Japan when I was living in the area. I call them the Canadians of Asia. And let me explain my theory.
How does Japan feel about that?
Explain my theory. This is the first time on ITP, my Canadians of Asia theory. But Canadians are very polite, very quiet, very self-effacing. And I find the Japanese are very much like that. They are very into keeping society norms and wanting not to upset or rock the boat. And I feel like Canadians are like that as well in the global scheme of things. What was your take on Japanese culture when you were right
Good
there
question.
living there?
Good question.
Yeah. Again, I loved it. I was amazed at the respect that people showed everywhere for everything, the conveniences that were available in Japan for everything.
The vending machines. Oh my
Yes.
gosh, so many vending machines.
I used to drive in Nagoya because you had to. The school was in a place where the public transport wasn't easy. So I remember that being just amazed at how people would wait for your car to enter the traffic very patiently, never honking. Of course, that happens in many other countries, I know, but being Indian, that's like amazing. But at
That
the same
happens in
time,
India?
You can't
really?
get out of the driveway without someone honking at you.
Or
at the
being in a
same
line.
time, I have seen impatience in other countries when somebody is, being a little slow. But here, people wait it out. If you're nervous and you don't know what you're doing, they will wait it out. And I just love that about the Japanese people. The bowing that makes such a big difference. And I keep doing that even after coming to India. Sure. And I say arigato gozaimasu, and I'm like, oh, wait, sorry.
Rickshaw driver's like, whoa, that's some respect showing me.
So yeah, I think
I'm sure that's the last thing a rickshaw guy would expect is an Indian woman to get out and bow and say arigato. Wow.
at the
I was
same
once
time,
shushed on a metro, though. There are some other sides to that very, polite and respectful society. They absolutely require silence in these public transportation vehicles. And I was whispering with with a Japanese person who had asked me where I was from and wanted to practice their English, but we knew to whisper and we were still shushed
yes,
because
Shush.
the whisper was too loud.
yes, that has definitely happened to me.
Oh,
I
really?
am an Indian, so I'm very loud. So
I don't think you'll get
my
shushed on an
natural
Indian
voice
bus.
is
no.
loud.
Yes, yes.
All
And
right.
so how did you find the Italy job? How did you
Yes.
you said you put in a few more applications this time than Japan?
Yeah, I think it was probably because of the fact that I was going to be very selective this time. Think that, I know that you're not supposed to be selective. You should keep all your options open and all of that. But I just wanted to be selective this time. So I wanted to target a few places. I did go to a job fair actually this time. This was the first time I went to a face-to-face job fair in Bangkok, the search fair. And I did not have a very good experience there. I was very overwhelmed. There were like 800 candidates, speed dating with all these school reps, and everyone is juggling all these resumes and small talk and their elevator pitches. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot do this. And I remember that there was this mixer where you're supposed to connect with the school leaders in the evening. And I just stood on the side, not knowing who to talk to, how to talk to anyone. And I decided that this is just not for a person like me. I don't think I'm extroverted enough. I don't think I'm good at making small talk. And I was like, well, lesson learned. I don't do this another time. So nothing worked out there. But then I kept
Shoot,
applying.
really?
Yeah, nothing, not a single offer. I did have a few interviews, but not a single offer. And I had started my process all the way in October, hoping that I would get something in time so I wouldn't have to go to a job fair and not spend that money. But it didn't work out. In fact, I had this one school leader from the Mediterranean, Middle Eastern area who told me during my elevator pitch, cut me right off and said, we do not hire Indian passport holders. So even now, after 7 years in the international teaching world, I have had that experience. But
I have a theory for you. I have
Okay.
a theory about that early job fair in Bangkok, both the ISS and search. And my theory, and it might be wrong, but in my experience, my theory is that it's for couples. The schools go to that one early it's like December-ish, a little bit before January. And it, to me, and JP may disagree with me, but I feel like that's a couples fair. They're looking to fill up 2 positions. And a lot of couples were, because when I was there, I sat around for 4 days. No one wanted to talk to me. And at the very end,
It's the same as where
I
you're
had
at
a
now.
couple. Well, that's true, Kit. That's true. Yeah. Anyway, I know that you have a lot of strikes against you, and you're doing that uphill battle like we talked about. You're a woman of color. you're a non-native English speaker, and I could see how those job fairs can be very difficult. But on top of that, you were also at a very difficult fair for a single, whereas a lot of couples are there. But
Okay.
that doesn't
Yeah,
mean it's
for
not gonna
example,
work.
London is the IB fair. It's touted as that, and I think that might have been something to look to in the future. If
Yeah.
you want to stick with the IB system, that's often the quote unquote IB fair.
But
Yes.
that high energy of the job fair, that roller coaster effect, that is not for everybody. And I
Yes.
totally respect that. If you feel more introvert than extrovert, doing the other system, you've obviously successfully gone to several different countries, and now you're heading to sweet Italy.
I
Are you going to
know.
learn Italian?
I am on Duolingo, so you can
Hey,
imagine what
Duolingo!
kind.
Hey, Duolingo!
Nandini, we're going to add each other so we can inspire each other on Duolingo.
Are
Find
you
out
learning?
what is, you're going to have to
Yes,
find
always.
out what donkey is in Italian. I forgot. I think it's burro.
Dove es el donchio? I don't know.
My God, we have to write an apology letter to Italy.
Where in Italy will you be going, Nandini? Do you want to tell the ITP crowd?
Sure, I'll be going to Genoa on the Italian Riviera.
Yeah.
That's a Shakespeare. That's
I'm
a
jealous.
Shakespeare town, isn't it?
Well,
You
I'm
hear it in
not
every
sure.
Shakespeare play, it feels like.
I'm not sure, but I am very much into connecting English literature with the settings. I actually have a website for that, but literary walks that I have done of, books that
Do
I've
share.
read and places
Yeah. Tell the ITP crowd where they could find some of your some of the
Sure.
things that you produced.
I'll have to share the link because it's not it's a Wix site, so it's just my personal project kind of a thing I've done, not a really something that.
So it's not
yeah,
Nandini's literature geographical
really.
locations.
Sort of sit in front of the computer,
And
just
Shakespeare in
singing up,
English, too, so it's tough to understand.
did a little opera. I do that too, Nandini. I sit here and sing until the neighbors complain.
Please don't, Kent.
But I'm terribly excited about Italy because of that, because I'll be able to do more of literary walks.
Yes. And not to mention the travel. You may not need a car at that point, but you still can take trains into all those surrounding
Take
countries.
trains
Absolutely.
everywhere. Go stand on Juliet's balcony. Go and hit all of the great places. Don't go to Venice in the summertime.
Right.
There's so many things I could tell you about Italy, but I can't wait for you to find out for yourself.
Wow.
I did
I am
that
so
kind of a choice, like you said before. I did a choice to go to Europe and teach in Europe for a while for the lifestyle, not for the money. But I
Exactly.
wanted to, be there in Europe for a while, and it's a trade-off. So I think you're going to have a wonderful time there, traveling all over and enjoying just Italy. Go to the smallest little towns and have a cappuccino.
Yes.
Get on the train, go to the next little town. Everyone, it's just a great experience. So I'm very happy for you. Can I get us into last two questions of the show, and then we can let Kent do our little roundup here. But my first question for you, Nandini, is if you had three things to take with you to all these countries, what are the three things that you take with you?
Sure. So I'm a vegetarian, so I always make sure I take my Indian spices and snacks with me. Then I really love this book, The Secret by Rhonda Burns. And whenever I'm feeling a little low, I try to manifest better vibes for myself. And so I take The Secret with me everywhere.
I thought you were going to say my book, but I guess The Secret's okay too, right? What's number three?
Obviously love all my literature books, but they are difficult to carry. The shipping allowance usually doesn't allow me that much. But I take this book just to keep myself pepped up. And then this is really interesting, but I found that I always take US dollars with me wherever I go. It's like my international language of just in case emergencies kind of a thing. I feel like it's going to bail me out if I'm in a soup in somewhere. So yeah, those are the things I always take with me.
Interesting. Very
Great
cool.
answer.
And Nandini, in your experiences overseas, have you had any run-in with the police?
I actually had quite a few.
Woo!
And you can hear
Right.
most of those stories on our Patreon accounts. I love it.
Tell you about the one when I was driving to North Macedonia from Bulgaria. I was on a solo road trip, and when I entered North Macedonia, there was the police check to be done, which is a usual one. There's nothing weird about that. But they scanned my car and asked me to step on the side with my car. It made me get all panicky. Then they said, how much currency do you have with you? And I said, I'm carrying about 500. That's my emergency stash. And I was carrying that over there as well. And they said, we need to look at all the bills. And so they actually physically went through every single bill. I believe they were looking to see if there was a counterfeit note there.
Did they keep any?
I was standing there panicking. Wondering, what if I have a counterfeit note by chance? Like, I don't even know what if somebody gave me a counterfeit note?
Of course, how would you know?
Yeah.
I would have found at least two bills in there that were counterfeit.
We'll need to keep these, ma'am.
We'll need to keep these.
Yeah.
Did you get away with all of them?
What's that? Sorry, say that again?
Did you take all of them? Did you get all of them back?
Yes. I got them all back, and they let me go in about an hour. But
he held you up for an hour.
I was really, really sweating.
And isn't it true in all those little countries? I know in Eastern Europe, when I traveled through with a rental car, you need to buy a little sticker for that country, and it costs 50 euros or 60 euros each country you're visiting.
Yes, there is a lot of different rules. I had a rental car in Bulgaria, so I just had to tell my rental car people, like I had like the long-term lease kind of
countries you're going to go through.
Yeah, so they would just help me with everything I needed.
In hindsight, I thought when I went through Slovakia, I was like, Bratislava. And that cost me 50 euros just to go to that city and with my parents. And I said, I don't know if that was worth the 50 euros. Bratislava was lovely, but it was like...
Bratislava's not worth 50 euros?
It was a little sketchy. I was like, we're not stopping the car here. We're just going to keep driving to Czech Republic.
This is what international teachers do. They talk about places all over the world. Nandini, I'm sure your parents love you. How long can they actually listen to your stories for? My mom, she'll go about 5 minutes and that's it. We're done.
That's why she's shipping out soon. They're like, well, we got to get rid of her. Let's send her to Italy.
Are your parents, are they excited as your career has progressed? Are they grown more and more excited? Do you talk to them every week? What's that like nowadays?
I talk to them quite a bit. Actually, I talk to my mom every day.
That's all.
Saying I'm safe, I am still alive. But I don't think they think I'm doing something very responsible. I feel that there is that belief that this kind of an unsettled life, which is how they perceive it, is not responsible enough at my age. So
I'm sure they brought up your brother and the grandkids a few times, huh?
Exactly, right? My brother is married with a kid and all, and I'm like, I'm just enjoying my life.
Start your career, forgetting that this is a career, right? We all agree this international thing.
Somehow it's just not perceived as a proper career. Like everyone in my family thinks I'm crazy, just moving from one country to another. And they're like, how long are you going to keep doing this?
Yeah. And I mean, you probably continue to do it. You're right. I mean, you love the world and I think it's great. Let's go around and do final thoughts. Okay, so I'll, let's see. I forget which order I usually go in. Let's go JP Mint, let's go Greg, and then Nandini will give you the last word on final thoughts. JP, it's been a couple months. Get us caught up.
Yeah, I just want to thank Nandini for coming out. I didn't know what we were going to expect, and I've been pleasantly surprised by your journey, by your stories, and I really hope that after you settle in Italy, you might consider coming back and letting us know what that transition was like back to Europe after Japan.
I would love
so please consider coming back. Greg?
I'm just dumbfounded. It was a great show. I loved having you on here, and I think it's great to have a woman of color that is a non-native speaker that is just breaking waves. You're just breaking the mold, and you're a really great example for other teachers that are out there wondering, how do I get into international teaching? as a non-native English speaker. I think it's great. Thank you for being on our show, and definitely come back.
Nandini, I'm going to go ahead and give you the final word here. But am I the only one thinking, you know what? Introvert? I don't know. I'm going with extrovert on this one. Nandini, you've been nothing.
I think it depends on the situation.
It depends on the situation, but nothing but positive energy, fun, laughter. I've really appreciated getting to know you. Nandini, what do you want to tell the ITP crowd?
I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity, because I've been listening to your podcast and feeling like I do have a story to tell. Like, I've heard about the struggles that many other people have faced, and I wanted to tell my story. And thank you for giving me a voice and a space to do that.
Wow.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Let me think.
Thank you for making it fun alongside.
It's with these two guys.
And donkeys. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Kat. Bring us to a close.
No, I'd like to thank JP Mint. JP, thanks for joining us today.
Yay!
You can find her at jpmintconsulting.com. Check her out. She's very active in the international teaching sphere. And what are you showing us there, JP? Or I don't know, what was this?
Mint. This is my
Sure.
new
Very
JP
close.
Mint shirt.
JP finally got dressed for the podcast. She's very excited. I'd like to thank my former next-door neighbor, Gregory, the single guy Lemoyne, who also, we don't know if he's wearing pants, but he's got the shirt on. You could find his book, one of two of his books, I don't even remember what they're called, at www.amazon.com or wherever you find your finer books.
Called
Just
The
search
Secret.
for Lemoyne. Great. Thanks for joining us, buddy. Good to see you back.
Thanks for being here, yeah.
And a very special thanks to Nandini for joining us today. Thank you so much, Nandini.
Thank you.
And you'll be able
And
to
we're
find
going
her.
to find, yes, we're going to put her show
Yeah,
notes
you can
in the show
find
notes.
some of her materials that she shares with the ITP crowd on links below. And if you happen to be in Genoa, did I say that right? You
Yes.
probably could find her on the local stage reprising her role in Romeo and Juliet. And stay tuned. She might come back and update us on her journey. I'm Cat the Cat Guy, and you can find me currently in Bellingham, Washington. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah!
Yay!
Kent's a little
Well,
rusty on this one.
You know
my
what?
God.
I'm always
It's that Seattle air.
Little rusty.
Okay, Nandini, let me ask you about this.
Just
This
stick
guy,
around a
let's
little
see.
bit.
This guy is Eugene Hodges.